on this episode of Postcards.
Music to me is just become me in general. This is like what I identify with. This is my creative outlet.
15 years ago, you didn't find tom yum paste in a grocery store. You didn't find Thai red curry paste in your local supermarket.
I think as a community artist, it's really important to truly be connected to the communities that you're working within.
Postcards is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Additional support provided by Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropies, Mark and Margaret Yekel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farms, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota. On the web at shalomhillfarm.org. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com. The Lake Region Arts Council's Arts Calendar, an arts and cultural heritage funded digital calendar showcasing upcoming art events and opportunities for artists in West Central Minnesota. On the web at lrac4calendar.org. Playing today's new music plus your favorite hits, 96.7 Cram. Online at 967cram.com.
Cool world! She broke before, never got another kill.
We're YYY, and we are an experimental pop group from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our music is fairly eclectic. It all fits into a box, more or less, but the box is just a little bigger than most other genres.
Feels just like a magazine. On the same wavelength as those in the cool world, you never want to sleep alone.
I started making beats and kind of messing around with production when I was around 19, so maybe 8 years ago. And it wasn't really even until about 4 or 5 years ago that I started singing. That was like a pretty steep learning curve, but I would just find pockets or certain tones of my voice that I really liked, and then just kind of run with that for an entire song. A lot of my songs are just experiments that I just kind of took and ran with. Jess plays drums in YYY, and it started out where I had this record made and I really wanted to perform it live, but I needed a drummer. And so Jess and I kind of connected there and started playing live shows together.
I explain it as sad boy art rock sometimes, sad boy art rock duo. But yeah, I play drums in the band. It's one of the one of the most unique things I've ever been a part of. It's music that I haven't heard coming from anywhere else. You know, maybe I just don't listen to the same influences as him. We have different by trade, music stylings, but I really haven't ever heard anything like that, and I thought that was super cool.
When I fall, you're enough. I don't mind the blood. I see that unknown territory caught your eye. Now that you and I are us, you and I are us.
Jess and I recently just rented this house, It's been nice because we were able to streamline a lot of the stuff. If I'm doing something and I need her opinion on it, instead of me having to like bounce the song out, email it to her, wait till she listens to it and then send it back, I can just be like, hey, Jess can come upstairs. And
this interesting combination of friendship, roommateship, and bandship. Like it's, my bandmates are my best friends. Crossing that boundary into living territory, it seems like it goes pretty flawlessly because you just already know each other so well and you have things to level on. When we're home, we talk about what we have to do for the band and what we're working on. And I love coming home and like hearing his weird synthy sounds in the attic. Like he's working on something and I come up and check it out, and it's just a really nice creative environment.
Make a salad. Do you want some cheese?
no, Jess.
I have so much cheese.
Let's square this up with the picture.
We could get the actual champagne glasses and like, use that too.
Yeah, we're living the domestic band life. I feel like our particular house is kind of off the beaten path a little bit from a lot of the noisier areas and parts of Northeast, which I really like. I like things this feels almost like a little cabin that, you can go out if you want to, but then you always can just like retreat here and relax at the end of the day. As far as where I live, I like things to be a bit more mellow. Just because I don't feel like I'm really in a place anymore where I can do the like 8 roommates living in a crusty house type of thing. That just gets really exhausting, and so. Hold on a second. So a lot of the inspiration behind the music, it first starts with the instrumental part. I do a lot of sampling, and I like to take a sample and mangle it beyond recognition. Usually I'll just be kind of dinking around on my equipment, and then I'll hear like a sound or like a loop or something that strikes me and really gets me interested. And then you kind of go down this trail of creating this into like a bigger and bigger production, and then it becomes more or less an instrumental track. And that usually, for me, dictates the lyrical content that goes over top of it. We have a record that's yet to be released. It's called Aqua Dungeon After Dark. The Aqua Dungeon was what I called the house I used to live in. A lot of the lyrical content kind of relates to being isolated and kind of just staying in your apartment. Especially when I was living there, like during the winter times, there'd be, a week or two would go by without me leaving the apartment, and just kind of trying to find new meaning and new significance in the things around you that you see every day.
Sun become the killer, door turn piranha, hair like Nirvana. Backspace, anything not cheap thrills. So chill, I kick flip the heat bill. Got busy, really not getting busy. To the fly on the wall, put your wing up if you're with me. Post fun and I'm mad depressed. I don't try and I don't get dressed. So when the couch hit me up for the guest verse, I broke bread with a moth in a sweatshirt.
The music videos that we've shot have these really interesting themes that tie into this whole like packaging of who he is and like the music he creates. And I thought that was so cool and intentional and, honest.
Alright. Saw the lava on the floor, but I'm into it. Saw the devil in the ceiling. Good night.
He's like one of the smartest producers I've ever met. He knows more about synths than anybody I know, and just I love the care and appreciation that he puts into the live show.
That was always kind of a big question mark when I was getting the project up and going, like how do I want to translate this live, because there's so many things that are like very production heavy that you can't really recreate live. And so what came together is Jess is playing drums to give it like the core of the live feel. And we have some backing tracks going, and then I'm singing and playing the synthesizer. But I also have a light show that's programmed exactly in tune with the music, because a lot of those lights I have in my apartment or in my studio when I was creating the songs. So I feel like if I have them out here for the people to see too, it opens up the world that I'm creating a bit more to them.
It's just a different stylistic drumming thing than I've really done before. I'm almost like a computer. Like, you know, I'm replicating all these beats he's made himself. You know, in the new stuff, it's more, we're working together a little bit more on it, but being able to like come in and replicate his ideas on acoustic drums is really fun for me. You know, once my new space is set up downstairs, that's gonna be life-changing for me, and we'll be able to practice in the house and like literally just do the band all the time. So yeah, it's really great.
I'm always listening to music, I'm always creating music. I'm always like finding new pieces of gear to learn and kind of pick apart. Music to me is just become me in general. This is like what I identify with. This is my creative outlet. This is it. This is basically my world. Everything revolves around music.
I had put weight on as a teenager and didn't like it. And I think it all went back to my first trip in 1991 to Thailand. And I was on this journey to lose weight. And all you ever heard was fat is flavor, fat is flavor. And we believed that, I believed it. So I thought, oh, well, I'm never gonna have anything nice if I can't have any flavor. And then I had this Thai Tom Yum Goong soup, which is bursting with flavor and there's zero fat in it. And I was like, oh no, actually, you can get it from herbs and spices. And I started cooking for myself with the right method and came up with these dishes that I thought were a little bit more exciting. And over a period of 3 years, I lost about 65 pounds. And I didn't know that would last. I didn't know that would mean anything. But during that space, I loved to cook. And I really felt at the end of this kind of challenge that I wanted to help people. I wanted to share the information I'd learned and really wanted to make it about the food, not just the method. So I grew up in England and my mum was a fabulous cook and it was all home-cooked dinners. I've got 2 older brothers and real family life in a suburb of London, and always had a love of cooking but never thought that would be a career.
I'm Daniel Green and I'm on a mission to find the origins of some of the world's most popular and iconic dishes.
So I was doing cooking and travel shows in England. I was doing things on Discovery Health and everything was about healthy eating, and I had done some travel shows for BBC. I did 2 series as a judge on Food Network. I loved that. The first was Kitchen Inferno with Curtis Stone, and then I was on a panel called Food Fortunes, which was a bit like Shark Tank for food. Loved that. I found it very easy being a judge, because being the other side when you're cooking is the hard thing. When you're sitting there as a judge, it's quite easy.
We may be tough on you today because you brought no food. Where's the food? We need to butter us up a little bit.
And I had an American agent in New York. One day they said, oh, there's this company in Minnesota, and they're looking for someone with a chef background that could be a host. And I thought, well, I'm 34, I'm married to my wife Jane, and we had our little girl Eleanor, was almost 2 years old. I thought, well, I wonder what this could be. This could be interesting. And we really looked at it as a 1-year stop. So I came over to Minnesota. They did bring me out in May, which was a beautiful time of year. I didn't research it. There was no Google in those days to say what's the weather like in January. And we did fall in love with the place. This is what brought me to Minnesota 15 years ago. The company used to be called Shop NBC. It's now Shop HQ. Let me show you around. We can jump in here. Careful, there's a step here. This is where I spend the majority of my time, in this studio. So in here is where everything happens. It's the control room. I get to hear what's going on the show, but you've got to see this. It's really impressive. Get to see all the screens that's on. This is the live show. Directors, producers behind. It's kind of the heartbeat of everything that goes on in this show. So really, always a very busy area, 24 hours a day. And a lot of people don't know this. Right just in the suburbs of Minneapolis and Eden Prairie is the 3rd biggest shopping network in the world, which is kind of amazing. We broadcast at 89 million homes right here. I'd done some live TV in England. I used to do a show on the equivalent to England's food network called UK Food. And there was an hour-long show that I used to co-host. So I had some experience in live. But selling was very different. Selling was something I wasn't used to. Most people in TV, they're on for 10 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour, but we do 3-4 hour blocks in a go. So it was a very different kind of animal of live TV, but I fell in love with it. They brought me in to mainly do cooking shows and do the live shows of pots and pans and everything in the kitchen. But because I was a full-time host, I did everything. So someone asked me, I bet you've sold everything but the kitchen sink. And no, actually, I do remember selling a kitchen sink. It was a vanity, so close to it. And when I'm not doing that, yes, I travel a lot, but I like Minnesota because nowhere's near, but nowhere's far. So if I do LA, it's 3 hours. If I do Florida, it's 3 hours. New York is 2 hours. So I feel it's quite a lucky place to be in the fact you can really go anywhere in a day or 2 days, and that can be back with the family. We moved here 15 years ago. We didn't think this was our life. This is where we were staying. And then we had our little girl Georgie here 6 years ago. And we thought, well, this is really where we want to call home. And that was a very good decision. You know, cooking for me has predominantly been about how can I maintain a good weight loss or stay at a good regime, and how can I give to others ideas on how they could maybe lose weight or at least have a healthy lifestyle. You know, 15 years ago, you didn't find tom yum paste in a grocery store. You didn't find Thai red curry paste in your local supermarket. Now I can walk into a Cub and find all these different ingredients, and I always do like to do that wherever I am, try and adapt to what's available. I don't try and complicate food. You know, I'm not making it for a 5-star restaurant. I'm making it at home, or I'm making it for a book, or I'm doing it on TV, which is a simple, easy step, which is maybe 3-4 ingredients and 5 minutes to do it. I think that's kind of my answer to cooking is if you do it easy enough, you'll keep doing it. If you make it complicated, you'll do it once a year. For me, it starts with how can I adapt something that tastes really good, that if I eat it, is really good for me too. So I'm going to make a dish that really was one of my first to make from the Far East that was surprisingly easy. It's a Thai red curry. Thai food is all about salty, sweet, spicy, all these different fragrances and flavors that come in. You can actually make this in about 3 to 4 minutes from start to finish. What I want to do is put the curry paste into the pan and just burn it off a little. And I'm going to break it down with a wooden spoon and just get that a tiny bit with no oil, nothing, just into getting that flavor that the aroma's really hitting the kitchen. If you've got a coconut milk, add that. Then what I'll do is just gradually incorporate and mix it together. And as I do that, the flavors will really blend in and it becomes this creamy, wonderful mix of Thai flavors. And then fish sauce. Now, you don't have to use a fish sauce, but if you can, it really is the balance of Thai food. I'm only adding a dash, a couple of drops. Now, you have to add a little bit of sweet. It's imperative. Normally, it's white sugar or a brown sugar in a Thai curry, and I love using maple syrup because it really gives a natural sweetness, and it's on paleo if you're on that, and it's on keto if you follow that, but also it's from here in Minnesota. I'm gonna add to that the shrimp. Then I'm gonna add some spinach. I'm gonna give a little sprinkle of dried cilantro, and then hot Thai red curry served with a little bit of jasmine rice. Takes me all the way back to Bangkok, but with a little influence of Minnesota.
I've always been an artist, I want to say, working with my mother, who's a painter. I got exposed to different art forms such as photography and painting very early on. However, my focus in school was government work. I was a city administrator, I was a court administrator, and I took a position that brought me out here to Renville, and I very quickly discovered that Minnesota is incredibly supportive to the arts. So I dove back into my art here more in Minnesota and started writing grants for projects that tied history and legacy together with art within a community. And it just keeps rolling. It's just exciting, and I get to do murals and I get to do photography projects. And I think that's kind of how it started here in Minnesota. I got to do the same act of tying a community's history to their modern day residents with the project Prohibited Acts, which I did in Granite Falls this past summer. Prohibited Acts was about taking actions and circumstances that were considered taboo 100 years ago in the Prohibition era and making them come to life in modern day Granite Falls. Maybe laugh at them, see what's changed, but also see maybe what hasn't changed. That was a really exciting project, and we did everything from host community talks where people got to share taboo stories from different decades to we finished it with interactive sets all around town on Volstead days where people could go and actually be a part of a speakeasy, see live music, eat Cracker Jacks, which was a staple snack 100 years ago. This is my studio space. I call it Studio Berge. It's inside the beautiful KK Berge building where there are monthly art exhibits and an art-based gift shop. I rent a small space in here and I use it for a photography studio and a painting studio, but it's also a co-working space. And so it's something I'm trying to make accessible to every artist in Granite Falls who needs a space to practice. Olivia, Minnesota became a Main Street community this past year, I believe. And as part of becoming a Main Street community, they were able to put together a program called Artist on Main Street. And what that program did is it took proposals from local artists. It could be anything that created a sense of space and community or a public art in Olivia. They were really looking for placemaking efforts to revive their downtown community. I was very fortunate to be able to write 5 proposals for the City of Olivia and have 5 proposals accepted for the City of Olivia. I was excited to do this mural on the front of the Chamber of Commerce that has kind of an abstract corn pattern. I'm honoring the corn capital, of course, but also I was able to put my artistic flair on it, and the Chamber was very open to just kind of letting me loose with it, along with another artist named Adam Price, who's incredibly talented.
Well, yellow is my favorite color. It's hard to hide.
Also in Olivia, Minnesota, I was able to do ground art in a park. There's this concrete park that they call Dowling Square, after Michael Dowling, the famed Yellowstone Trail champion. So we wrote a proposal for that square to put interactive art on the ground that kids can play with, adults can play with in the summer.
Nice.
I love Granite Falls. My heart's in Granite Falls, I feel. Something about Granite Falls has always drawn me here. I don't know if it's the aesthetic of the river or the people in this community that are so supportive to the arts as well. I felt like I was home the second I came here. I think as a community artist, it's really important to truly be connected to the communities that you're working within. You can't truly represent a community and support a community unless you're ingrained in that community. You have to be able to sit down at coffee and talk with someone about the town and know about the town and take that time to create that space. You can't just show up and say, hey, I'm here because someone hired me to be here. So I'm not hired to be in Granite. I'm here because my heart is here and the community supports me in a way that I've honestly never seen a community support their artist in any way like they do here.
Postcards is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Additional support provided by Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropies, Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farms, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota. On the web at shalomhillfarm.org. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com. The Lake Region Arts Council's Arts Calendar, an arts and cultural heritage funded digital calendar showcasing upcoming art events and opportunities for artists in West Central Minnesota. On the web at lrac4calendar.org. Playing today's new music plus your favorite hits, 96.7 Cram. Online at 967cram.com.